And welcome to Community Kitchen. It's starting to get a little bit cold out there now. Winter's coming. Have to start thinking about slow cookers and some nice warm foods for the families. We've got a few things happening today. A little bit later on, we're going to have a special guest. I've got my grandson Lex with me today, and we're going to be talking about Mother's Day because that's a special thing. And he really wanted to come and have a look at the radio station, so he's here with me. So a little bit later, we're going to be talking, and we're going to be talking about some treats you can make for your mum when you're just a kid. Who knows, maybe they can help you, and maybe you can do something special for Mum on the morning of Mother's Day. But right now, let's talk about different things happening. Food Revolution Day. It's all about Jamie Oliver's Ministry of Food, and we've seen it traipse across Australia. It's very interesting. So far, 4,500 people have participated in the Ministry of Food Cooking, which is a foundation, the Good Foundation, has come on board, and this is a wonderful thing. It's all about getting back to cooking. And I think a lot of the times we go to restaurants, which is a lovely thing, you go out and you have fancy food, but when it comes to eating at home, it appears to me that a lot of people nowadays get a little bit frightened about that because we've had so many cooking shows, and this is the negative, I think, to it. From what I hear from people, the negative is that the aspirations and the expectation, because of a lot of cooking shows, is made a little bit hard for people just to put regular, good, real food on the kitchen table. And I think that is something that we have to think about because everyone's busy nowadays. We want things that we can make, produce, and I think there's a lot of things in the supermarket you can see that will create that. But at the same time, getting back to how our grandmothers and our mothers cooked is just such a wonderful thing. It's something that's going to stay with you forever. And I think the idea of cooking things from scratch is a wonderful thing. One thing I noticed about Jamie Oliver when he was talking, he said, excuses, excuses. He's sick of hearing them, tired of parents who defend for poor food choices for their children over the people who don't make cooking a priority. And I think that's one thing. We've got such high health problems with our food in Australia. Once upon a time, we used to talk about the US having all the problems with food. Australia is up there, guys. It's really, the stats are very alarming and interesting. With the Food Revolution Day article I was reading about, they were talking, Jamie was talking about the fact that in a bid to slim down the population, we're not talking about aesthetics here, we're talking about health. Oliver wants to tax the added sugar hidden in so many everyday products. He reckons that if cigarettes, gambling and alcohol are taxed, then perhaps the same should happen to those people who are helping to make Australia one of the fattest countries. I don't want Coke to disappear. I think it is a tasty drink and I have a couple each year. But that's got to be taxed because governments do not have the cash to deal with these problems. And that is something to look at, isn't it? I mean, how are we going to pay for this in the long run when we have so many health problems? On the other hand, a major supermarket in the news this week was complaining that the soft drinks hitting our shores are too expensive, and a lot of other countries around the world get the soft drinks cheaper, and he thinks that we should be getting them cheaper. Come on, if you're going to pay for it, you have to pay for it. It's one of those things, isn't it? It's a very highly refined food, highly refined drink, and that's just what happens. I think we have to really have a little time to think about it, and maybe we get back to the stage. Years ago, you had a soft drink when you went to a party or it was a special event. It wasn't something that was taken into the house every day, and same as the refined foods. It's okay to have the cakes and that. Listening to Jude Barreau last week, she was mentioning that once upon a time the diet was so balanced that having a cake wasn't a bad thing. But when you're having a refined cake and a refined breakfast and a refined lunch and a refined dinner, then the sugar and fat intake is just too high, for the body to be able to handle. Now, thinking about food, we're talking about Farm also this morning. Farm Fantastic, of course, going for 12 years. And 3 years ago, they contacted us here and said that they'd like the community kitchen to go to Farm, which we did do, and Two Old Ducks, which is part of my cooking thing that I do out and about. went to farm, and this is the third year that we'll be having our tent. The first year we talked about getting back to basics. Last year we talked about knowing where your food's coming from, and this year it's talking about getting started, because a lot of the times it can be quite intimidating. So we've changed a few little things around this year, and we're having some guests, and we'll be talking to one of those guests later on in the show, Annette Sim, and she's going to be talking about what she does. Her 7th cookbook is just about to be released, and she's going to be cooking in the Food for Thought tent this year at farm also. And I think you'll find out after listening to her, a lot of people have problems with their weight, and of course Annette Sim has done some fantastic books, and she's going to talk to us about that. But I think what's really fantastic with the Food for Thought tent this year, and it's something I talk about on my show a lot, we've put in some market tables, and these market tables are going to be for people who produce. They may grow, they may cook, they may whatever they do. We have opportunities for people to come along and display their goods there in our Food for Thought tent, which is just fantastic, because you will get some great local produce. You'll find some fantastic people out and about who are coming to display their goods, olive oil producers, olive producers, cheese producers, and I think that is fantastic to be able to have all these resources available. So that's very exciting. At the same time, in the Food for Thought tent this year, and something that we've just launched this month, is a cooking competition. You may say, a cooking comp. Well, we had to do it because it seems it's one of those things that's happening, but our cooking competition is something my family loves. And this competition is open to anyone, male, female, kids, whatever. But you go online on the Farm Fantastic, you will see that there's nominations there. Put your goodies in. It might be a fantastic entree, it might be a main, it might be a fantastic cake or a dessert. You submit them to the Farm Fantastic website by the 1st of May. So it's already started, and the finalists will be judged over the 3-day period. We'll have a panel of judges. It's not going to be that scary, guys, but we have sponsorship from the Good Guys this year, which is just brilliant, because as I said earlier, the Good Foundation has been very involved in the Ministry of Food, and the local Good Guys have come on board, and they'll be actually giving prizes to the 3 finalists on the events, because we'll be running the judging in the afternoons on the Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and we'd love to see some things. Of course, we do not have huge gourmet kitchens like some of the fantastic cook comps have, but you know what? A lot of kitchens are very basic also, so I think whatever your family loves, it might be something that every time you ask what you'd like for dinner, the family has a bit of a roar. We'd love you to share those at farm, and who knows what will happen from there. It could be very exciting, but I think that is something to really look forward to. So once again, just go onto the website at Farm Fantastic, have a look at that. It's just under the cooking comp. Something my family loves. It can be very simple. Might be the best soup in the whole world, something that family really looks forward to. And I know that talking to my sisters, we often have different memories of something that our mother has cooked, and we really, really do enjoy that. So that's something to look forward to. And I think that it's nice to know that there's some great cooks out there that will actually get recognised for some food that they have put on the table. I think what we might do is we might just go to our sponsors a little bit early, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Mother's Day cooking. And you're back with Community Kitchen. I thought today, seeing I had Lex in the show, and he's just getting his headphones all worked out here, that we'd talk about, he's got a lot of different friends, and we'd talk about something that you could actually make for Mum in the morning. And what do you think that mums like in the morning for breakfast, Lex, as a special treat? Do you think they like some fruit?
I think they might like some cake.
Some cake? Well, we are talking about Mother's Day, I guess, but if that was the case, you'd have to make cake. I wonder how easy it would be to get up in the morning and make a cake. What about we think about something that you could do all by yourself in the morning? Is it easy enough to chop up some nice fruit? Huh?
Yes.
And what about if you chopped up some, at the moment I'm sure there's some nice strawberries and there's some lovely watermelon, and I know that we've done that before. We've made nice watermelon balls and they look yummy. And mums like yogurt. Do you think so?
Yes.
And so they had some fruit and they had some nice yogurt. But I think something that would be really, really yummy is you could make some pancakes. Do you think parents
yes.
like that?
Yeah.
Do you like that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I like them too, and there's all different sorts you can make, because if you made some pancakes, and it can be very, very easy, because I know this recipe that everyone can remember. 1 egg, 1 cup of milk, and 1 cup of self-raising flour. And if you mix it all together and let it sit for a little while, if you made it even the night before you went to bed, so you didn't have to worry about getting up the next morning and making it, and if you mix it all in a bowl, make sure there's no lumps, then in the morning when you get up, all you've got to do is get Dad to help you to put the pan on, and you can make some nice pancakes. You could do some really tricky things in there. You could pour a little bit into the pan, and you could put some nice berries in there. Do you think that'd taste yummy?
Oh, yes.
Do you think just plain pancakes with maple syrup? That's what I love. Or with some grilled bacon. That's always yummy too. So there's lots of different alternatives that you can make that's easy for Mother's Day. Do you think you'll be getting up to make breakfast?
Yes.
Yes, I think that a lot of mums like to have a little bit of spoiling. And do you know what? They don't really expect that much. Sometimes they even just like a little bowl of cereal if you don't want to get really up nice and early and do something special in bed. But I think that easy pancake mixture is really fun to make. So what do we have to do? 1 egg.
1 cup of
flour.
Self-raising,
because you want them to be nice and puffy. And 1 cup of milk. Or we've made special crepes where you can do exactly the same. 1 egg, 1 cup of plain flour and milk, and you can let that sit, and then you can make nice little flat pancakes, and you can sprinkle sugar and lemon juice, and that is delicious. Remember how we've made them and we roll them up?
Oh, yeah.
And they're yummy, aren't they?
Mm.
So that's easy to remember. So it's only 3 things that you have to mix in the bowl. And also for Mother's Day, I think it is very nice to give Mum a treat. Do you?
Well, yes.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent way to do it. So there you go, guys. That's a very, very easy thing to do for Mum. You can have a bowl of fruit with some nice yogurt on it if you don't want to get up or make the effort to do some cooking. Or if you want to, 1 egg, 1 cup of flour, 1 cup of milk, and use the same size cup. And all you've got to do is mix it and leave it sit. And if you do it the night before, how easy is that? Don't even have to put any sugars or anything in it, because in the morning you might want to have it with some grilled bacon if Dad's happy to get up and do some cooking. Or you can do it with fruit, or you can sprinkle it with lemon juice and sugar. And how easy is that? And it makes Mum feel very special. Do you think so?
Yeah.
I think we'll go to a song. We'll come back shortly.
And welcome back to Community Kitchen. We have our next guest online. Good morning, Annette.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Simply too good to be true. It's a fantastic thing. I've been Googling and reading and talking to people, and it seems you've touched into so many people's lives, and your books are on so many shelves.
Oh, look, it's been a wonderful journey because, I love to help people, empower them to be the best they can be, and through my recipes it seems like people are loving cooking and losing weight, helping with their diabetes, the cholesterol, and just love cooking again. So I'm excited about it, especially since I've just launched my 7th book last week, which is pretty awesome.
I think it's fantastic. One thing that you do hear from a lot of people, and one of the problems of weights is that, you know, I'm on a diet, and it seems to be such a restrictive thing rather than changing their lifestyle.
Oh, yes. I mean, to me, diet is just masochistic because I don't know anyone that can stick at it for very long. And I actually look at my own self, you know, when I was a chronic dieter, and I actually was weighing 100 kilos. I mean, so I was just getting fatter with the dieting. It wasn't really helping at all.
I noticed, I was just saying to someone before I was going to talk to you, and you lost 35 kilos in 20 months, and you've kept that weight off by changing your lifestyle.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, I've been in my healthy weight range now for 20 years, and it's just about doing all the great healthy food that I was having when I was losing my weight and just eating a little bit more because obviously you don't want to lose weight, you know, continually. Through that process of losing the 35 kilos, it was like a shift in my mind as well as in my body because I think a lot of times people think that it is just about food, which is obviously very important, but it's about the mindset and how you think about yourself and food and how you react and act around food as well and just your lifestyle choices.
It's a hard thing, but when you talk to people who are trying to lose weight, it's just so difficult. And I think a lot of people, they talk about it being such a lonely thing because you can't really say to someone, look, I'm just really hating myself here and I want to lose this weight. So it's like this circle that just seems to, pardon me, go around and round and round and you never achieve anything.
Well, yes, and I think that the world can see that you've got something going on there. You know, when you've got, you know, really overweight like I was, you know, it showed that I was obviously not in control of food. And that was the big issue, I think, for a lot of times is that, you know, you give food the power. And even though you don't want to, you really want to be healthy and you want to stick to this healthy regime, you know, that packet of Tim Tams are just too tempting and you're just weak and you give up. And I think everyone knows what that feels like. I mean, I don't think I've ever thrown out a mouldy piece of cheesecake. Yeah, never. And I think that for me, going through that transition of learning how to love myself, you know, for who I am and no matter what size I am, but wanting to really embrace the healthy side of Annette and wanted to have energy and vitality and didn't just want to accept that this was my lot in life. And I think they were very important parts of the journey.
I think it's interesting too on one of the sites, one of the pages on your site there, Healthy at Any Age, talking to a lot of older people, and one thing I read there, it's a lot of people are by themselves when they get older, and that's the tricky part, isn't it? Because all of a sudden they think, oh, this is too much effort.
And I think they've cooked themselves into oblivion. They've cooked for the family all their lives, and suddenly they're just at home and they go, look, you know what, beans on toast works for me. But really, it's a time when your metabolism is starting to really slow down a bit, and you just can't eat like you used to. You're probably less active, you know, as you get older, and you're still probably in a situation where you want to, you know, you're cooking, but maybe cooking too much. And the other issue I find with a lot of older people is that they are a little bit maybe more comfortable financially now. They're not worrying about having a mortgage and their children, and so they spoil themselves a little bit more with takeaways and different other foods because it's easy and it's just them, and that can really wreak havoc with their weight.
I notice a lot when you're going out yourself. I mean, I ordered a sandwich the other day somewhere, but it just didn't come as a sandwich. It come with a salad, and it had a great big serve of chips with that. It's a big lunch if you eat all of that.
Absolutely, and I'm very domineering over when I go out because I don't want those surprises. Because
no.
I don't know about you, but for me, if I get a sandwich and it's got chips on the side, it's really hard not to eat them. So I always preempt when I'm out and say, what do I get with this?
Okay.
You know, and this is what Annette did to change from, 100 kilos to being in my healthy weight range now, was making those wise choices and just looking ahead and making sure that things weren't there to sabotage me, which is what it can do. You know, you've got good intentions and you go out to dinner with friends and whatever, and then suddenly there's this basket of garlic bread put in front of you, and I would instantly just say, can somebody just move that down a little bit further because I don't want to be able to reach it. I don't care if people go, oh, she's crazy. This is an important process that you're going through, and you've got to learn to educate yourself and be kind to yourself along the road as well.
Did you actually go through your pantry and just start to really move things out of there?
Absolutely. That was probably one of the first things I did when I went, okay, Annette, you're going to get healthy. And I knew that there was a lot of stuff in the pantry that wasn't healthy. And so I put them into a box and just said to my husband and children, like, is there anything in here you really want? Take it now if you want, otherwise it's going. And it really helped because on those days, you can always have good and bad days no matter what you do in life. But on those hungry days and there's stuff in the pantry to tempt you, you just may fall down with it. So knowing that when I go into my pantry, the unhealthiest thing I can maybe look for is maybe, a bit of, a little packet of rice crackers or something, you know what I mean, or prunes. There's just nothing there to tempt me, and I think it really helped on those bad days.
I had a guest on last week, and she's just about, like yourself, she's just about to release a cookbook and about whole foods. And Jude Barreau was saying that once upon a time it wasn't a problem because our diets, for breakfast you'd hop up, and I remember as a child we had rolled oats every morning in winter. It was just one of those things. And then you'd have a good morning tea, which would be a piece of fruit, and you'd have something that Mum had cooked. You'd have a good lunch. And at dinner, if you had a pudding, it was something that was, egg-based or as rice or, junket or stewed fruit or something like that. So our balance of diet was fantastic. And I'm talking, when I was a child. Now you find that because there is so much processed food, that having that cake on top of it is just putting it over the edge.
Absolutely. And we weren't tempted with all these massive... like the supermarkets, you just look at the aisles full of just such processed food. I often say when I do, I have a 3-day retreat once a year, and I take everybody on the Sunday morning through the supermarket, and they love it because the reality is when I stand there and I say to them, see all this fruit and vegetables and the meat and the chicken and the seafood, this is where you fill your trolley up. Once you move from here and go down those aisles, that's what you want the least of. And this is my big bugbear, is that overweight people can often be malnourished. Obese people can be, really lacking in vitamins and minerals because they eat so much brown and white food, and it's mostly processed. And so, even though they're eating all this food, they're actually not eating real food. And I often remember saying to people, a lot of this takeaway food, I think it's dead food. I mean, there's just no life in it. I mean, I saw a thing on the internet not long ago where someone had burgers from a takeaway place, and they'd had it sitting on this tray for 2 years, and it hadn't changed. And that's the thing. I mean, it's so fake that even mold doesn't bother with it.
That's incredible,
yeah,
isn't it?
So it made me really think about that. What's in this stuff we're eating?
I know. And I remember, reading something, and I've quoted it here on the show quite often, that if your grandmother doesn't understand what it is, don't use it. And I think it's a good thing. But at the same time, I mean, one of the problems that you seem to face, I mean, I've been rattling on this show now for about 6 years, and one of the things that I keep hearing from people is, I am so busy. I'm so busy, and yet at the same time, because of the expectations that we have for, supplying and doing all the right things, and that it does put a lot of pressure on the young mums too.
And they don't really know how to do, like, meatballs and, salmon potato cakes and all these basic things that we used to have when we were kids, you know what I mean? The mums were basic. My mum just loved doing roast chicken. Baked dinners, and that was her forte. That was there was no duck fat there or whatever fancy snancy stuff that these chefs are portraying on television these days. And I think that we're challenging people now to go beyond, and I think that my theory is, look, you know what? Let's just get in the kitchen, chop it all up, chuck in the pot, cook it, and have a life. I mean, I just want my food to be fabulous. I want it to taste awesome. I want it to be healthy. I want it to be low in saturated fats and low in salt. And I want to really look at colours and just be proud of the food that I'm eating and giving to my family. But I want to take 5 minutes to do it.
Yes.
And that's why I think I've sold 3.5 million cookbooks.
Yes.
Because everyone is loving that concept, which is great.
Oh, you're mentioning the chefs. I think this is one thing. I mean, for me to go out, I love to cook, and I've always enjoyed cooking. But if I'm going to be flambeing saffron threads in, whatever, I want the chefs to do that. And for your family meal, in fact, I was just saying to Lucy before, all the vegetables that we had on our plate last night I'd grown. It's such a nice thing to be able to say that you've done that. And it might be simple, but you sort of have this little ownership over, and that's something I keep hearing with you talking, is taking ownership of your food.
Yes, and I think that as you said, going back to the fact that everyone says they're just time poor, but at the end of the day, you've got to have dinner. And if you're buying a lot of the prepackaged, things, the jars and packets and whatever, you're spending a lot of money. And plus you don't know what's in it. And I like to be able to, feel like I'm in control of what's going on the plates at dinner time. But it doesn't mean you have to work hard. And I think that there's so many people with allergies, and type 2 diabetes is such a big problem in our country, as well as heart disease is our biggest killer. And this is all coming back to our food choices, our lifestyle choices. So when you're making one of my recipes, you can see the nutritional breakdown. You know that it's going to be okay for you. And yet, I'm not asking you to be a gourmet chef. Having said that, I just got an email this morning from someone saying that they'd made the roasted pumpkin risotto out of my new book and said it was the best risotto they've ever made. And, they felt quite excited that they'd actually achieved a beautiful risotto, because it can be a little bit tricky. And I think that's what I love, is that I'm making people excited about being in the kitchen, and because they're getting good results, because I don't want you to go in and then have failures, because then that turns people off, and especially the young mums. I want them to go in there and know that, cooking for the family is easy and worth it.
And I think it's something that once people have a go. I always think that have a go, and you will have a few failures. I'll never forget when I was first married, and I was cooking some rice, and someone turned up, and being polite, was an older person, lived by, I didn't say to them, look, I've just got to go inside and get this off the stove. And when I come back, it looked like a pot of glue. And you hear a lot of people saying that they have a go at something, it didn't work, and they're not game to actually go and have another try at that. And I think that is always something that a lot of people say, that they're scared to cook, because they've missed. There seems to be a generation, when fast foods became something that were very dominant, we missed a generation of cooks.
Yes, and I think having all the cooking shows over the last couple of years have actually brought it back a little bit to life. And even though I don't particularly embrace what they do, because
sure,
it's all about butter, cream, salt, sugar, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, and the fats that they use. And that's the issue that I have, that where, you really can't expect to eat this type of food unless you're a triathlete, because this is the other issue, is that people are being so much more sedate now. And yes, back in the days, people would walk to school for 3 or 4 miles and to get somewhere. They were working on their farms. The kids were outside playing after school. They never were inside sitting in front of a television. And people were so much more active, so that they could work it off a bit more. But now we're a little bit sort of spoiled. And at the same time, though, I always want people to know that if they want a piece of cheesecake, they can have a slice of beautiful cheesecake from me. That's probably only about 4 grams of fat instead of 40. So at least they're having that and they're not deprived, because I think that's the big issue. As soon as you tell somebody, oh, no, you can't eat that anymore, it becomes an obsession to have that then.
I think also one thing we've touched here and on a lot in this show is understanding the content, and some of the labelling factors of food are very difficult to understand.
Well, yes, and I think that this is another thing that people love when I take them to the supermarket and I talk to them about what to look for on the brands, and not be sucked in by this, like when there's jelly beans that say they're 99% fat-free. Well, they've always been that way. But when I spoke to the company, they said that they double their sales when they put that on the packet. So you don't be fooled by what they're actually saying, because jelly beans have always been that way. Lollies don't have much fat in them at all, but they're full of sugar, and there's just nothing healthy about them. They're just sugar. And so, yes, a few of them are all right, but if you eat them daily and eat a bag of them, half a bag a day or whatever, you've got to really look at and question whether this is the healthy way to go.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Done your 7th book?
Yes. Very excited. I love this book so much, and with all the new recipes in there, I'm just excited to get people back in the kitchen with some new ideas and lots of great recipes.
I think it's great. You're going to be joining the Food for Thought 10 at Farm Fantastic Expo this year, so a lot of people will have the opportunity to come and talk to you on the Friday and the Saturday. You'll be cooking and doing demonstrations.
I absolutely will be firing up my wok and cooking some fabulous dishes, and everyone can try them and have a sample and see why these are the number one low-fat cookbooks in Australia, because it's all about easy, gorgeous and fabulous. And I'm excited to be at the Expo. I've heard it's a fabulous event, and I'm really looking forward to cooking up a storm for everybody in the tent.
I think that's great. Thanks for joining us this morning, and best of luck with your next book.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. And we've been talking to Annette Sims from Simply Too Good to Be True. 7th book, fantastic. And I think it's just amazing that someone can lose 35 kilos and kept that way for 20 years. And it can be a hard thing. I mean, I'm reading here from the Jean Hales in Melbourne. They talk about women's health, and so many women have, I don't know what it is, the pressure of dieting. You wonder whether it's for the looks or whether it's for the health, but a lot of the times you find the young ones, you see so many who are anorexic or they're overweight, and as Annette said, it's all about lifestyle. It's all about changing the way you think. So she's going to be at Farm, so that'll be great. Be able to catch up with her there. I think we go to our sponsors or a song. And you're back with Community Kitchen. Well, it's been good talking this morning. Remember now, guys, something my family loves, cooking competition. Go onto the Farm Fantastic website. It launched this week. Last week. 1st of May. It's May already. Cold's coming. Winter's almost here. So we're going to have some fantastic ideas, I hope, coming on the website there. Good Guys are sponsoring, so they've got some fantastic kitchen prizes to give away, and always nice to have something interesting to use in the kitchen. So all you've got to do is go onto the site, have a look at that. Something my family loves. It can be a fantastic cake. It could be a tray of biscuits. It could be a great dessert. I know there was always that special cake that we liked when we were kids. Talking to Annette Sims from Simply Too Good to Be True. I think that's fantastic. 7th cookbook, and I think also just speaking with Annette, you just really feel how getting back to that basics cooking once again, as we talk about here so readily, is something that's so important. And of course we talked about Mother's Day, and Lex and I were talking earlier, and we really do think that something simple but something special for Mum. So are we saying, Lex, that it's a good idea for Mum to have those pancakes?
Yes.
Nice and easy. Mix it up the night before. Get Dad to help in the morning and get the pan on. And all you've got to do then is heat up the pan and put a little bit of mixture in. You can put some blueberries in there. You might be able to shape it in the shape of a love heart when you put the blueberries in there. You might be able to put some strawberries on top. Sounds yummy, doesn't it? Hey? So I think that you can tell all your friends at school that it's just a simple thing to do. 1 egg, 1 cup of self-raising flour and 1 cup of milk. Leave it sit overnight, and in the morning you got delicious pancakes, and you can do lots of different things with them. And it's special to think about Mum, isn't it, for Mother's Day?
Yes.
Yeah, it is, because she does lots of good things for you. So until next week, thanks for listening. And don't forget, get on to the Farm Fantastic website. Have a look at that. I think it's a great competition, because there's always something in a family that Mum cooks or Dad cooks that the family loves. Thanks to our guests for coming on this morning, and I'll be with you next week.